Okay. Oh, that guy got lit up. Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here as always with Shughead Gaming, and I'm bringing you my review for Firewall Zero Hour, developed by First Contact Entertainment and released exclusively for PlayStation VR on August 28th. This is the game PSVR owners have been wanting since launch, a reality-based PvP military shooter. Basically bringing the Rainbow Six formula to VR, we now have Firewall Zero Hour, a 4 vs 4 tactical first-person shooter with aim support. This game seems like a dream come true for shooter fans, but does it deliver on the hype? Let's find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you want to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing, and for updates, hit that bell icon. So I've been playing this game straight for 6 hours on my PS4 Pro until my aim controller died. I've only started to scratch the surface of unlockable content, but I've got a real sense of the game and I cannot wait to share my thoughts with you. So with that, let's get into it. As always, graphics are up first. To be honest, I didn't even think a game of this graphical caliber could be possible on this generation of PSVR. Sure, it has its shortcomings, which I will get into in a bit, but it does so much right, it's actually a real feat of programming on the part of First Contact Entertainment. Firewall Zero Hour aims to bring a reality-based competitive AAA shooter to PSVR, and for the most part, it absolutely nails it. To put it in simple terms, Firewall looks like Rainbow Six Siege, only with the normal downgrades you would expect in VR. Frame rate is rock solid, textures are detailed, sharp, and feel realistic. Lighting throughout the levels is also fantastic, with buildings feeling like they belong in the world, and guns glistening across different light sources. Bullet tracers fly across the maps in gunfights, while the muzzle flash of weapons lights up the screen. Players animate well and move realistically as you move through levels together. There are no jerky animations here or limp limbs. Instead, we are given the animation quality we come to expect from other AAA shooters in flat gaming. Furthermore, characters look like real operators and have the expected detail in their appearance. Guns are beautifully detailed, and watching bullets fly out of the chamber, mags hit the ground, and your character fully reload is awesome to see in a VR title. This attention to detail is also seen in the various attachments you will unlock and equip. Laser sights shoot across the maps and can be seen coming off the gun and placing red dots on your desired target. Iron sights and various other optics are top-notch and actually are incredibly useful, as the developer here has done a fantastic job of properly adjusting gun placement so as to allow sights to be used properly without tracking conflicts between the controller and the headset lights. All 9 maps are completely different in their aesthetics, with each map looking and feeling completely different from the others. There are no repeated textures, no cheap 2D trickery, and levels actually bring a sense of realism and immersion so as to feel like real locations. Now, all this awesomeness being brought into VR does not come without some compromises. Large levels with longer draw distance do suffer from some blurring and jagged edges, with smaller indoor locations faring significantly better. This issue can also be seen when looking at character names off in the distance, as they can become much harder to read. Environments, for the most part, are non-destructible, with the exception of bullet holes on walls. For a Rainbow Six Siege fan, I got used to firefights leaving a war zone of destruction behind, so the bulletproof surroundings did seem a little lifeless. Magnification scopes are also absent from the game, as are DMR guns and sniper rifles. This omission is a direct result of scopes requiring a second render of the world and proving too taxing on the PS4 hardware, most likely the OG PS4. The developer has said this may be added at a later date, so here's hoping a workaround is possible. These issues aside, Firewall Zero Hour is an extremely polished AAA shooter for PSVR, and given that it's pulling off an 8-player PvP in large, realistic, and detailed environments, when the mighty Farpoint could only handle 1v1, First Contact should be applauded for what is on screen here. Sound is up next.
Hostile neutralized. Hostile down. Hostile down.
For those who watch my reviews, you know one of my sticking points with shooters is gun sounds. Too often, VR shooters with real-world guns come off as unrealistic, not powerful, and they lack detail. I had high hopes for Firewall Zero Hour, and while Firewall may not hit the heights of such shooters as Rainbow Six Siege, the Battlefield series, or Insurgency, I am happy to report that for the most part, Firewall delivers on both gun sounds and throughout. Across the huge variety of guns, each sounds unique, authentic, and appropriately loud, with small details such as shell casings hitting the ground and the reload of a mag being present and sounding great. In fact, it's the small things in the sound mix that really elevates Firewall Zero Hour into a top-tier shooter. Footsteps vary depending on speed and surface. Your gun hits walls and makes an audible clank. Glass windows can be heard breaking and doors can be heard creaking open. This may seem like a minor detail, but nuances like this make a tactical shooter shine. Of special note is the use of spatial audio being used in game chat, with teammates being easy to hear when grouped up close, yet just a whisper when across the map, and loud and clear when in a support position on the camera feeds. The addition of this is brilliant and really sells the whole experience. Music here is well done and of the epic orchestral variety you would expect from a modern shooter. However, my preference was to turn it off in-game in order to better hear the movements of enemy contractors. And this brings me to my only real criticism of the sound mix in Firewall, and that is the lack of detailed 3D audio in player movements. Don't get me wrong, you can hear combatants moving around just fine, but when compared to Rainbow Six Siege, in which surround sound speakers could mean life or death as someone snuck down a stairwell, here in Firewall those details just aren't as present. However, these are the nitpickings of a game critic, and as such will likely not be an issue for many gamers. All in all, Firewall Zero Hour's sounds, like the graphics before, are of the AAA variety and some of the best on PSVR to date. And that brings us to the big one, gameplay. With a development team consisting of members who have worked on such famous shooters as Call of Duty and Halo, to say the expectations of this squad-based shooter were high would be an understatement. Many gamers feared Firewall would end up as 2018's Bravo Team disappointment, but as gameplay videos started to get released and those in the industry got their hands on the game, the hype seemed at once to be justified. Did Firewall Zero Hour deliver? Mostly. Firewall Zero Hour is a very focused game, and it has one mode, the tried and true attack and defend. This can be played 4v4 online, or for the less competitive, it can be played solo or in a team consisting of up to 4 people against AI. While the decision to go with one mode will likely be met with some dissatisfaction, the reasoning behind it is sound. Simply put, the developers didn't want to split the smaller PSVR player base into different modes, so as to keep the 8-player lobbies full. With word coming from the developer that other modes such as Team Deathmatch have been tested in-house, it really will come down to us, the community, whether we get more modes moving forward. This being said, when looking at the solo and co-op side of the game, I can't help but feel it was a poor choice to not offer additional modes such as Terrorist Hunt, which involves clearing a map of enemy AI. In addition, AI difficulty levels would also have been a nice addition, given that the default difficulty level as it is has the AI coming off more as cannon fodder than a tactical threat. But enough about the solo play, as love it or hate it, Firewall Zero Hour is primarily a competitive online shooter, and fortunately that's where it shines. With 9 maps, approximately the same amount Rainbow Six Siege launched with, some may feel the content to be a little light, and while these maps will get old over time, let me tell you each map is unique, memorable, and really fun to play on. The compound map, being an early favorite, is a multi-leveled mansion with a surrounding yard and an inner courtyard with surrounding balconies. The office map, with its tight staircases and some great vertical firefights, is a ton of fun. The districts map has some of the longest stretches and some great choke points that make for some great street-based firefights. The hotel map is a close-quartered map, with hallway firefights being a standout here. The bunker map easily has one of the best sections in the middle, as teams will partake in some of the best firefights this game has to deliver. The embassy map is a great all-round map with a nice combination of vertical vantage points and close-quarters strategy, while the shoot house map, being very reminiscent of the kill house in the Rainbow Six series, is all about CQB and a real blast to rock a shotgun in. The game rounds out its 9 maps with both the docks and warehouse maps. Both maps are fantastic wide open maps with lots of elevation vantage points and extremely difficult areas to cover. These maps, like all the others, really require teamwork and are some of Firewall's most robust maps. All 9 maps are incredibly well made, and even after 6 hours of game time and multiple playthroughs on each, I still have barely learned how to play them, and I cannot wait to jump back into them. With promise-free DLC in the coming months, Firewall Zero Hour, like Rainbow Six Siege before it, should just keep growing in map numbers, but these 9 maps are a perfect foundation. The 12 available operators, of which 9 are unlocked from the start, all vary in their special skill that they possess. This can be extra ammo, resistance to explosions, resistance to bullets, etc. In addition, each operator can be modified with an additional skill. These secondary skills, like many other items, are unlocked through level progression and then purchased with earned currency. These secondary skills, of which there are 22 of them, can be added to any operator once purchased and consist of such things like the ability to reload faster, additional consumables, faster running speed, and extra currency earning. When choosing your loadout, you will have access to 3 basic locked loadouts, consisting of Assault, CQB, and Support, with 2 completely custom loadouts unlocking fairly early on. There are 13 primary guns, 5 secondary guns, and a multitude of consumables in the form of grenades, traps, and gadgets. In addition, there are at least 30 gun attachments to make your loadout your own and suit the needs of the coming map, whether that be attacking or defending. Special mention goes to the underslung shotgun and grenade launcher attachments, which are personal favorites of mine. Firewall does have a grind built in to unlock everything, but it's fair and designed to keep you playing for just one more match, and with a level cap of 50, Firewall will keep you pushing a good long while. Negatives to the loadout options would be the previously mentioned lack of DMR guns, sniper rifles, and magnification scopes. For with the inherent lack of fidelity when shooting far across the map, a scope would have helped to avoid a bit of spray and pray that distance gunfights can devolve into. The game is also lacking some very much loved assault rifle models, and a complete lack of light machine guns is also an odd omission. This could be for balancing issues or coming in future DLC, but their absence is unfortunate. So yeah, all the gear in the world doesn't mean shit if the gameplay isn't good. Fortunately, the gameplay is great and an absolute must-buy reason to own the aim controller. Like Farpoint before it, Firewall Zero Hour is a game designed around the use of the aim controller. You can use the DS4, but it feels weird aiming with the light strip, and honestly, it's just asking for carpal tunnel with the odd angles your wrists will have to be at. Control with the aim controller is smooth, tight, and responsive, and easily puts the whole argument of mouse and keyboard versus controllers in shooters to rest with a dominant fuck you to both. Moving down corridors with your squad, red dot to your eye, and peering around a corner is a sensation that must be played to understand. Blind firing around corners and over ledges is one thing that will absolutely never get old in VR, and single-handedly ruins me on traditional shooters. And that really is the testament to how Firewall feels to play. The fact is, it feels like a full-fledged FPS, but with all the advantages that only VR can bring. Need to cut down on your recoil? Prop your gun on a ledge for stability. Wondering what's around a corner? Literally peek around it. Shooting down into open courtyards and literally looking down and aiming down from your vantage point is simply incredible, and the stuff video game dreams are made of. Movement speed could be a little bit faster, especially for getting away from a thrown grenade, but it isn't game-breaking slow, and for the most part, perfect for this style of shooter. Now, we are talking PSVR tracking, so not everything is fine and dandy. Yes, the aim can drift, especially when low on power, and tracking issues do crop up from time to time. However, for the most part, everything just works, and the control here is as good as one can hope for with this generation of PSVR. Team play is the name of the game, and anyone who has played a tactical shooter knows that communication and working together is the only way to play. As such, Firewall Zero Hour is a social game and not for those who want to play with their mic off. However, for those that do, Firewall is an absolute blast defending or attacking. You will be strategizing, coordinating, covering, and healing as a team, and you will have a blast. And that brings us to fun factor and my final review. Shockingly, Firewall Zero Hour actually lives up to most of the hype. It's not without a few issues and omissions, but for the most part, this is a fully fledged competitive online FPS for the PSVR. This game should be huge for PSVR and VR in general. Those who have played other VR FPS standouts such as Pavlov and Onward have actually said that Firewall Zero Hour with the aim controller could be the best feeling VR shooter to date. Is this PSVR's GoldenEye? Only time will tell. As you know, I rate games on a scale of buy, wait for a sale, or burn it to the ground. If you have a PSVR and like competitive shooters, this is an absolute no-brainer. Buy this game, buy an aim controller, and get online. This is PSVR at its best, and it's a ton of fun to play. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more PSVR content from me, you know the deal. Please consider subscribing. And for updates, hit that bell icon. That's it for me. I'm Chris from Shughead Gaming, and I will catch you on my next review.